stripes, 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 stripes. Okay, in this video, I'm creating a striped panel that will then be used to create 3 different cards. So first, I'm just cutting out the various colors of cardstock that I'm going to use for my stripes. And I'm going to be using this 1/4-inch stripe die to cut those out of the various color cardstock. I just like the way that the die cut edges look, sort of creates an rounded edge, but you could also use your paper trimmer to cut your strips out. I ended up needing to cut out some additional colors than the ones that you see here on the screen because I just didn't have enough colors to fill my full panel, but this is what I started with. I'm then going to use this diagonal stitching die that's a background die, and I'm cutting it out of white cardstock, and I'm going to be using that as a guide for how to line up my stripes. So I'm going to make them parallel or in sort of the same direction as the stitching stripes with my colors of cardstock. So I'm just using that top panel on the screen to try and make sure that those are lined up and that they sort of same directional pattern with those cardstock strips that I have on the die cut background die. And I'm just going to keep repeating this, laying down some liquid adhesive so I have some wiggle room to maneuver these stripes into place and repeat the pattern until I finish all my colors. So it's at this point that I kind of realized that I didn't have enough stripes to cover my panel, so I'm going to just loosely cut off or trim down this panel because I was thinking about perhaps maybe just repeating some of the existing colors, and so I already have some of those pieces and I wouldn't need to cut out new colors. But I decided to just go ahead and cut out some additional colors, and I think I ended up using 25 different colors of cardstock, but there are 26 strips on the screen. I'm next going to just finish trimming off the excess stripes. It doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to trim the pattern down. So the card panel on the back will be a little bit smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's just a rough estimate. You can see that my stripes don't quite go all the way to the edge. So I ended up just trimming off. It ends up being about a 1/4 inch on each side. So basically a 5 by 3 3/4 panel. I'm then using these thank you word dies to and lining it up on the striped panel, and then I'm going to die cut that, and these will form the 3 different pieces for the 3 different cards that we're going to create. And I'm just being extra careful to make sure I don't accidentally tear any of the stripes because it is a kind of a long process to get all of these stripes, so I didn't want to have to repeat it if I messed up. I'm then going to cut the word dies out of white colored cardstock, and I'm going to cut out 8 in total and end up layering 4 together to create 2 sets of white word dies that say thank you. And I've also cut out 2 additional diagonal striped panels, and this is sort of how it's going to look, which is why I wanted them to line up. And you can see that there's sort of excess on the edge, so I'm going to go ahead and trim about a 1/2 inch total off of 2 ends, so then again it'll be the same size as our striped panel so that they'll layer nicely. I'm then going to add the glue to the back of these, being really careful with that tiny piece that could easily tear, and I'm lining that up with the panel. So I'm going to repeat that process with the top, and there is a little bit of excess, so I'll end up trimming that as well. And here is where I'm going to layer the words. If you accidentally mess up some of your die cut words like I did here with that K, you can just make sure that it's in the back. I'm just adding a little glue drops. I find gluing really messy, so I try to be as delicate as possible so I don't get glue all over my die cut words, but it usually doesn't work out. It usually ends up all over my fingers and all over the dies, and we just kind of have to, hope for the best. I'm laying down the middle of this into the other card panel, and then here's where I'm trimming off that excess because there was a little bit of extra off of each end. And then I'm going to take the stacked word dies that are out of white cardstock, and I'm going to just tuck them into the place the cutout place for the thank, and then this cutout place for the U. So you can see sort of the stripes on the top and the bottom, and then in the middle there's that diagonal die cut, and then the words sort of nestled in. And I'm going to repeat that. In this case, we have the centerpiece, and so we're just going to add the thank you on the top and the U on the bottom to sort of nestle that centerpiece between the two words. And so these are sort of the three sets that we have created using that one striped panel. And then the background card is going to be gray cardstock. I thought it was a good contrast to all the colorfulness of the stripes. And so now I'm just cutting those panels and using my, what is that tool called? I'm creating the card bases, and I'm gluing down these panels to the card bases. I'm like that blanking on what that tool is called. Scoring, my scoring buddy. That's what it's called. And then for the last card, I'm just laying the words on the white diagonal background. And again, trying to line up those stripes with the background so that they're parallel or lined up with each other and the pattern sort of goes together. And so these are the 3 finished cards using each of those different pieces of the stripe panel. Let me know in the comments which one you think is the best or which one is your favorite. I really like this one because it's got lots of color and it's very bright, but I do also like some of the subtleness of the other two as well. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and make some of your own striped cards.